So Frederik, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us. Thank you for being here.
So most about change, I'm very happy to be here. So we can talk digital, yes, but I've been working with business transformation the last 20 years actually now. And one of the things that I know for a fact is that whenever you want to do any kind of transformation, it's 20% processes and technology and 80% you. I mean, if you don't want to change, then nothing happens, right? So while we can go the digital way, we can also go the human way, because I've been working with the last 15 years with insurance companies here in the Middle East about business change, business transformation. And the first many years I ran my head into the wall so many times because I thought that it had to do with you had to have the right processes, then you had to go find the right systems, and then when you could present it in a nice way, then people would follow. That would never happen. It's the other way around. People, they need to understand what we are talking about and why they have to do it. Now, I've been looking very much forward to this. There's a lot of topics in this presentation. I think we have 60 pages. You don't have to be worried. We're not going to go through all of them. But I included them because we can talk a little bit about everything or a lot about something. And I really want you also to guide me. I know a lot about digital in technology architecture and systems and what have you. I know a lot about processes, optimization. I know quite a lot about artificial intelligence and how you use artificial intelligence to automate things, how to create AI strategies for financial institutions, because I've been working with this for many years. And of course also about transformation and how to get transformation to work in the real life. And I think that's important for me to underline. I'm very, very pragmatic in everything I do. I'm not a big fan of the big high-flying presentations. I'm a big fan of getting things done. So everything here hopefully would have a very pragmatic point of view to what we're talking about. I'm showing you this because the one to the left is pretty much what I think would be interesting for you. I also put the ones to the right if you want to double-click on a little bit more AI and AI strategy thinking. And you can stop me at any time and we can jump back and forth to anything that have your likings. I'm not sure how many insurers are here. Obviously, a part of this is focused on insurance, but I also believe that most of it, if not all, is very applicable to other industries, especially in the financial services. But that being said, just stop me if it goes astray, if it's something that's not relevant for you, if I get too much nerdy into the insurance details, then just stop me and say what you'd like me to double click on. And if you want to talk, yes, I said anything about transformation, best practices, experience, especially in the Middle East, then I'm here for you. As rightly said, I'm working with a company called eData, and we do 4 things. I'm not going to get into details, but we are working with big data. We are working with AI decision support tools. We are working with advisory services, and of course, AI agents. And I'm not going to double click on the AI agents, but I probably will go there because it's very, very close to my heart. AI agents is the concept of not thinking AI strategies where you turn the whole company around, but finding these surgical inserts of AI automations. And we've deployed quite a few of them here in the Middle East quite successfully. And I think personally this is one of the ways in the future to get to work with AI, because the big strategy doesn't really work. It's just a piece of paper that nobody knows what to do with. All right, so I have a few slides about the future of insurance, because my point here is to kind of establish the urgency, the sense of, regardless of where we are in insurance or financial services or any other corporations, we are probably at a point right now where we are at an inflection point. Because at one point, the AI and the world is moving incredibly fast, and most organizations are not keeping up. Now, I can see you are just one thing, and I wouldn't give it to you now because then I won't have your attention. But a lot of the pages that you will see here is in this strategy paper. So it's over here. So when I'm done, And of course, I'm pretty sure we can also get the full presentation, so that's good. So from an insurance perspective, I think you can look at it in four areas. You have products, technology, you have industry developments, and then you have the external environment that we're working in. Products, especially in the insurance industry, are moving more and more towards microinsurance, or what you can call embedded insurance. And that's interesting and relevant because if you are a financial services or an insurance company, then chances are you have 10, 15, 20 years old legacy systems that have stored your product configurations, that have stored everything in one way. And if the world now comes and say, oh, you have to think about microinsurance, I mean, pay as you go, pay how you use, with selectable covers or whatever we talk about, how do we, number one, price that as insurance underwriters or actuaries? How do we change our systems to cope with that? So, and that's actually now, I don't know if you read it, but I'm part of creating the world's first mini MBA in digital insurance, and that is out of Singapore. And in Singapore, this whole concept of microinsurance and usage-based insurance is way, way ahead of anything I've seen in this region. And they've managed to come around the core systems, and we can talk about that later. But I'm also quite certain that it's coming here, especially when I see the movements in the industry here and in Europe as well. So these kind of insurances are coming. Embedded insurance, I guess you all know, because if you buy something on Amazon, click here if you want extended warranties, of your phone or whatever. But the thing is, again here, in a in a very competitive environment as the insurance industry is, the embedders, the Amazons, the Netflix, the Googles, the Apples of the world, they will choose the partner that integrates the easiest with them. And that's back to how you think systems, how you think digital transformation, how you think claiming, pricing, and everything in your ecosystem as a company, right? So one thing is talking about it, but another thing is starting to think about the implications. And then, of course, we can see the industry digitalization. I don't think anybody from the industry would disagree that we have to modernize our systems. But another thing is, how do we actually do it? And one of the other points that I see, and one thing that I've been heavily involved in here in the region, I'm personally involved in, not personally until I put money in, but I'm helping, in 3 digital insurance companies. Now, as a reaction to this digitalization of the industry, I'm working today with 3 of the largest insurance companies here in the region that have acknowledged they cannot change their core systems. Maybe they can, but it is 5 years and problems. So what they've decided to do is basically create a digital entity right next to them. Some of them are building it in the term of call it MGA, a managing general agent, where you have the whole insurance company, but not the risk-taking, but the insurance company with the underwriting and claims and everything. And others, they've said, no, we'll put the 500 million or whatever it is to create a brand new digital entity. And that gives you an idea of how serious people are taking this. The insurers, they know 2 things. They know digital is probably the way forward. They also know that they're realistic enough to understand that they cannot transform or modernize their entire system in due time. So that's some things, and of course the change of customer expectations. I'm not sure in your part of the world, but I can tell you here, the way insurance companies, they look at competition is they look across the street, and if they do better, if they look better or have better prices than their competitor, then they're winning. That's not how consumers are thinking, especially if you're in the retail market. But don't forget that even corporate customers are also individuals. Consumers, us, when we go to an insurance company, what are our expectations? Well, we are coming from Netflix, Google, Apple, Amazon, or whatever. This is our expectations. Oh, you couldn't wait, could you? Okay, so this paper is a paper that I made as a discussion paper for senior executives in the insurance industry. Because when I visited the CEOs of the insurance companies here in the Middle East, and don't quote me on this, but they were not too clear about the strategy or the future of insurance. And they were not too clear about their priorities, about what they should be doing. So I created this one to put in front of them and have something to discuss with them. And one of them is this page we're talking about here, the future of insurance. This one is not in here, but I think that's quite interesting as well. This is an analysis we've done very, very recently, where we've taken the world, if you like, of insurers and say, okay, as an average, where is the insurance industry from a scale of poor to best in class? And best in class is the five I've been mentioning many times, the Google, Netflix, Apples, Amazons of the world. And the industry as such is not doing very well. And that's okay, because it's a lot of room for improvement. But if you remember what I just showed you with the digital attackers, if you are part of leading a financial institution or an insurance company, you have to be aware of this. You have to be aware of, as an industry, we are not doing very well in anywhere. Of course, we are making money, but not that much. And the customers don't like us. Our technology is not very fantastic. Our products are not very flexible. And on the other hand, you have the insurance companies who understand that if they want to survive, they probably have to spawn a new digital entity. So this is a real threat. And based on, and I'm very lucky because I have access to literally all insurance CEOs here in the region. And this is a breakdown of what's important for them. So after I've had many meetings, maybe 50 or 60 meetings with the insurance leadership, I created this list of what's on top of their minds. And some of them is not surprising at all. Of course, technology, this is in the paper here. Technology and growth, cost control, innovation. But look how far down products are. Of course, they're saying everything is important, but when we're having the talks, dare I say, they only talk about the three top ones. Let's change our system, do something. Let's grow, and we need to save money. That's all they think about. And then everything else comes below. And that's quite interesting because in my world, there are other things that we have to do in order to move ahead. I feel, as I said before, the industry here is at an inflection point. We are at a stage where we either decline or we have to do something new. If you've seen the strategy of the S-curves, right? You have to jump to another S-curve to grow. So there are at least 4 things that I see insurance companies they need to do to just stay relevant in the industry. We have to rethink the operating model. We have to think processes before systems. There are so many fantastic systems providers in the world, and they're so good at whining and dining and doing marketing and selling and talking. So it's easy for leaders, especially the part of the insurance companies who may not be so experienced with IT. So it's easy for them to be convinced by the McKinseys of the world and the PowerPoints of the world that they need to change their systems, and this is the most important thing. I've never seen that work well. Never. Because what happens is we take our processes and we put them into a new system. So now we have our old processes working really fast and really bad, but in a new system. And very rarely the insurance companies, they take that step back and look at how do we actually work in our company? What is our operating model? How do we exchange goods and services? That basic level. And you know what happens with the few insurance companies that does that? They see that just by thinking of their processes, they can get a much bigger step ahead than they would ever have imagined. And in many cases, it can actually postpone the modernization of a core system. So it's quite important to think that. One of the biggest things that I see is when you, and it's I'm just going to give you this, and you can tell me if it resonates with you, but when you have different business units, different silos that are forced to work together, underwriting, claims, finance, or whatever. One of the biggest issues, bottlenecks, problems that you face is when one silo have to hand over things to another silo. It just gets lost in translation. If you create a ticket from customer service that IT has to take care of, or the claims management send an email to finance, please pay this, it's lost somewhere and somebody has to follow up, and then they forgot about what they have to follow up on, then the customer calls and complains and so forth. By looking at this, and this is back to, I said in the beginning, I'm very pragmatic, but by looking at these simple handovers between processes, between units and teams, you can improve your processes 15%, and I will guarantee, if not 20, just by thinking of this. And it requires nothing system-wise, nothing. It requires a lot human-wise, because we have to force ourselves to take responsibility when I get this ticket to actually get it done and so forth. So that's back to tearing down the silos and actually, and you see these things, I don't know if this works. It doesn't. So these things on the left, even we are talking digital transformation, there's not much digital transformation in this. And that goes back to it's people. We are working with people here, and it's people that we have to change. From a top management perspective, if you want this to work, you have to incentivize the units or the silos after a goal that can only be achieved if they work together. It sounds wrong because they should believe in the good of the company and all this, no. But if you tell them your bonus is directly depending on you delivering on these things, and they can only deliver these things if they work together, that's the prerequisite. So this is number one. Number two is when you're thinking of your question, your example with the surgical optimization initiatives. What we find is when you start looking at this, there's one common denominator that most, if not all, units are dependent on, that you can improve if you focus on it, and this is the quality of data. And quality of data is everything from customer service, actually getting the customer noted down correctly, to the problems that you have of getting in case of a claim, for example, the problems that you have in getting the right documents from the customer in the first place. Because you will find that some customer service or claims teams, they just forward an email to motor claims or health claims or whoever, and then they have to open the email and the documents are wrong. Then they have to reply back to the customer service, can you please contact that customer and get it? But if you look at these things, and actually back to some of my AI agent or AI automation tools that works really well here, what happens is that you actually take a lot of workload and a lot of grievances away from the teams. And I find, in most cases, especially if you have a good transformation manager, that is a very important step in motivating people to want more. So now all of a sudden they see that they were so tired of listening, now this stupid email from claims again, they have to contact Frederik for getting the right documents. All of a sudden that doesn't happen anymore. And then they start thinking, why can't we get some more of that? And if you pair that with the leadership who is motivated by incentives of also getting there, then you're starting to get the ball rolling. But it is not easy, because if it was easy, everybody would do it right. This one, I think I'll skip, unless you want to know about it, because I also understand that you'll get some AI experts coming and talking tomorrow. This was the usual, if you use ChatGPT to give me some use cases for AI and insurance, you get the top one. The bottom ones are some of the examples that I have worked with, I am working with today with insurance companies here in the region, and the results that it's getting. So, and back to your question, actually, this one here. This is the simplest little tool in the world who takes over the conversation with the policyholder to make sure that the documents that are being submitted are correct. It sounds simple because it is, but if any of you have worked with getting documents from customers, you also know that if something can go wrong, it will go, especially when they try to send the ID the wrong way, or the wrong document, or the wife's ID, or what have you, right? So these simple things, they work. Instead of the bigger ones on top because it's so easy to write. We can do all this, yes we can, but we're not doing it. And you can see from some of the findings also, if you see how insurers are using it, AI today, the top one, document parsing and analysis, that is basically just document reading, right? So OCR, it's nothing more than this. Then you have the customer service chatbots, but it's not, in most cases, real AI chatbots. It is much more, now you can select one of these 4 options, then you can select one of these 5 options, and then they call it AI, but it's not. Real AI is when you have an artificial intelligence who actually suggests and takes decisions on behalf of your organization within a framework, right? So it's a completely different thing. I've just highlighted on the left side 2 things that I really don't understand why no more are thinking of. If you are working with technology, then I don't know how many are aware of the concept of technical debt in here. Technical debt is what's killing most insurance companies or most financial companies. What happens is that you need to make a change to your core systems. And IT, they're coming back and say this change is 5 months. Okay, for some reason. Then product, they go and complain, we need it in 2 months because the competition, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes to the CEO, or whoever goes to the CEO, he will call IT and say, I need this in 2 months. And IT, they want to help. So they say, yes, sir, we will give it to you in 2 months. And then they start cutting corners, then they start making undocumented code, and they deliver in 2 months. Next time, however, when the same happens, they forgot what they did before. So they have to, and you probably have heard this, the concept of impact analysis. That's when we have to go through our code to understand what did we do the last time. And that easily doubles the development time. Easily. And that's just a vicious circle, because again, the CEO, I want it in 2 months, yes sir, and then they have to make more patchwork. AI is fantastic at code documentation. So AI is a fantastic tool to run through existing core systems and document the technical debt. And I'm surprised no more are using it. And the other one, compliance automation. Now, especially in the Middle East, I mean, we have 2 types of insurance companies. We have what's called takaful operators, Sharia compliant, and we have traditional insurance companies. If you are working in a Sharia compliant insurance company, then you have compliance, legal, and the Sharia board who needs to approve your products, or your marketing campaigns, or whatever you do. Sharia boards historically are not working as fast as legal and compliance. So you can wait 3 months to get a Sharia approval because it goes back and forth and they have questions and they want you to change a word, and because that is not whatever. With AI, you can you can create these AI agents that acts as a pseudo Sharia board, a pseudo legal advisor, a pseudo compliance advisor. It's not going to replace them, but it means that if you're working with product development, marketing, or anything, you can run your products, your marketing campaigns through these agents before you send it to any others for approval, which means that there's a lot of iterations that you don't have to do, which means that your time to market is increasing. Okay, and the last is, the other side is that 24% of the few insurance companies who actually goes into AI, they have no measurable impact, which I find astonishing. How can you start a project without having, anyway. And maybe this one should have been before, but you see here, only 25% of insurance companies have deployed real AI in production. I don't know how that relates to your experiences, but we are thinking about it, we are talking about it, but we are scared of taking the last step, right? So the way we are using digital twins is probably a little different from your understanding, because digital twins is typically a copy of a factory, of an engine or a machine that you can do simulations on. The way we work with digital twins is predominantly in marketing. So you create typically 9 or 10 specific personas, very, very detailed specific personas. And whenever you have a new product, whenever you have a new marketing campaign, you will actually have a session automatically with these personas, right? in the case that we've run it here in the Middle East, it increases the engagement with the recipients with 30% in average, 30% in average. So it's significant because you are able to tailor whatever you send out or whatever, however you talk to the customers much more. And what you see, and when you go a little bit more advanced, that same digital twin, if you're capable of labeling your customers of what persona they are, when they call in, when they engage with your AI agent, WhatsApp for example, that agent will be aware of that persona and answer that language. So your NPS, I would believe, is increasing as well, but also your direct results in terms of upsell and cross-sell. So the question, I don't know if you heard it, the question here, one of the most used use cases in insurance or risk assessment is computer vision. And if you're looking at computer vision, let me start with my pet peeve. Computer vision for motor claims works in two extremes: when you have cosmetic damage in your car or you have a total loss. Everything in between is useless. Why? Because if you've seen on the streets here, we have these big four-wheel drives, the Land Cruisers and Nissan Patrols of the world, right? If a Toyota Corolla rear ends a Nissan Patrol, the Nissan Patrol have this hook that looks like this at the back, okay? And that hook goes directly through the grille of the vehicle, hits the radiator, breaks the radiator, and if the accident happens with more than 40 km/h, pushes the engine a little bit back in the car. Then you remove the Patrol or Land Cruiser from the Toyota Corolla, and the Toyota Corolla's front have a quite flexible fiberglass front, so it'll extend back. So what you'll see is some scratches and a hole in the grille. Computer vision would say, oh, this is you have to replace your grille and your front bumper. That's likely, I don't know, 2,500 dirhams, right? What the computer doesn't see is the radiator is gone and the engine has been displaced, which means that the car is a total loss. So from that, it works for these two when it's cosmetic damage and total loss. Computer vision is fantastic as a pre-underwriting seance where you walk around your car so it can see if there's any. Pre-inspection is fantastic. It's fantastic if you go into, we use drones to risk assess factories. So if you underwrite a building, for example, and say if you're going to have this premium, that gas tank has to be moved over there. We cannot have the gas tank sitting next to the building. Then you'll have a drone cycling around there once every 3 months to check if they actually move the gas tank, right? So in that sense, it works well. I guess in a perfect world, in a McKinsey, Bain, whatever company world, then you would start all over and completely transform your operating model and say, this is the shiny new solution that you have. In the real world, that will never happen. It's simply impossible. If you have a going concern company that's worked for more than 5 to 10 years, you have silos, you have politics, you have bureaucracy, you have everything. So it's just not possible. So the way I find works, and I'm not saying it's the right or the wrong, I just know it works, is actually as you're touching. What we do typically, we sit with the insurer, and then we look at one end-to-end process. That could be underwriting, it could be motor claims, it could be policy endorsements, it could be whatever, but end-to-end, okay? And then the first step we do is document it. And what we find here, step number one, is that I'm yet to see an insurance company who have a documented process of what they're doing. They'll find a blueprint, and then we'll show this blueprint to somebody, and they say, what is this? This is how you're supposed to work? No, this is not what I'm doing, right? Step number one, actually get this process down as is today. What you'll find is, if you're working with people who have experience in transformation, experience in automation, and now also in AI, during that, the light bulbs will go off already there saying, why don't we note this down? And in the brave new world of AI agents, it is quite feasible to take some of these ideas and say, okay, this specific, now the document generation, for example, this specific thing, let's use an AI agent to automate that. What happens is, first of all, you get almost instant benefits in the organization. You also get kind of motivation for people to move on, and they want to do more, right? Because they could see it works. So doing this with your operations and thinking of in parallel creating a proper enterprise architecture is what we work with. And when I say proper enterprise architecture, then I'm talking about isolating the core systems. Don't touch them, just keep them there, make them systems of record, right? But build APIs, microservices around them. So these agents, they are connecting through this layer. So if and when you are lucky enough to change your core system, either you kill the agent because it's no longer worth, and then you've, I don't know, the agent is 12,000 US per month, right? No, per year, 1,000 per month. It's nothing, right? So either it worked a little while, and thank you very much, or it connects directly into the new system because it actually works well. So this way of very slowly but gradually transforming how a company works well. No, so I would rather look at the end-to-end process, because as I said before, it's typically in the interaction between the units that you have the most to gain. The data documentation, the data gathering, content validation, all this is a huge step and very, very easy to implement. Right, I'm completely a little off topic here. Are we okay with time? Okay. Now, so the idea was by now I should have motivated you enough to think that there is a need to change, but also maybe have an idea of it's not that easy. We are working with something called the House of Digital Transformation. And again, this is probably back to a perfect world, but I wanted to show you this you're probably already aware of it, but just to remind you, when you're working with transformation, it's not just one thing, it is everything in your organization. And yes, you can and you should find these pockets where you can do surgical optimization. But just think that digital transformation is about everything. It's about your workflow and processes, user experience, technology architecture, your third parties, your corporate strategy, your digital strategy, your company culture, your strategy culture. All these things come together and they are interconnected. And of course, the core activities of the transformation offices, we've been talking about it, the optimization, process optimization and automation. And I also firmly believe that one of the core activities of any transformation office is working with culture. Because I've said it many times and I'll continue saying it, you're not going to do any change if people don't want to change. It's that simple. And if you force them to change, they'll change 3 days and then they'll go back to what they did before. And that's, I don't know. I don't know what your experience with this is. I mean, I was working, long story, but I was working with, I was seconded for one of the license advisory firms who asked me to come and act as a SME subject matter expert in the transformation of the largest insurance company in the region. And there was a lot of changes there was 11 strategic initiatives that we had to implement. And one of the first things I said to the partner of this advisory firm was that this is never going to work. Because what have you done for the people? No, but this is just their new jobs, they can just do it. And then I said, no way in hell they're just going to do it. And then the partner, he got upset with me and he said, you know what? This is coming from the CEO. If anybody don't want to do what the CEO does, then I'll call Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, he will come and tell them. And nothing happened. And Mr. Chairman, he came and told them and nothing happened. For many reasons. First, I mean, if your chairman comes and tells you to do something, you want to do it. But the problem is, what if you don't know how to do it? For us, some of us, not so many, not even me, but it's logical, you just have to do this. But imagine if you've been used to working with these processes and systems and projects your whole life, and then somebody tells you, now you have to do like this. I mean, humans don't like to change, right? None of us like to change. Just ask me to switch my coffee with tea in the morning, it's not going to happen. Humans don't like to change. And even, and as I said before in the beginning also, if we're standing and having the grandest vision, this is the right thing to do. Wow, and everybody thinks it's a good idea. But then it comes to, we double click on you and say, that means you have to do this tomorrow. No. That's not what I wanted to do. So it has to do with humans, end to end. Now this is taken a little at managers, but I want to discuss this with you. What do you think when we go and talk about change and new things and strategy? And what do you think people, they tell us, the CEO, the CTO, the whatever, the number one thing, it's always, yeah, this is interesting, but we just have to finish this project, or we have to finish that project, or we can look at it when this is done. Then the top management, they always tell us, we really want to do this with you. But I have to finish that, I have to do that, we also have to do this, or we have to do this. So we are too busy. And for me, this is the biggest issue and one of the biggest purposes. Huh? Yeah. Because if you are a leader of a company, your priorities are always the ones in your face and the one that yells the loudest. So you always think it is the IT or the regulation, the regulatory changes, or what do I know? But we always get this. So when you establish a transformation office, one of the first things that you have to do is to understand why they say this. Why do we have so much problems getting started with new things? And you said it is prioritization, it is lack of coordination, it is lack of understanding of why we have to do it, it is lack of delegation, it is there are so many reasons for this. But in any given insurance company, and I would say it's probably even worse in banks and other financial institutions, I can go in and I can find 200 or 250 projects. And we've done this. We found 250 active projects in an insurance company with 170 employees. How is that even possible? And it is simply because people, they don't talk. They have their own project. They have their bigger project. They have somebody who yells the loudest. So for a transformation office to work, you have to deal with this problem. You have to acknowledge that there are more projects in your organization than you have people. And that means when the CEO says, I don't have time, I believe him. But I also hope in the discussion we've had until now, that where we are headed as an industry in the world, we probably need to find time to change. Otherwise, we will be out of business. So when we are working with this and setting up transformation offices, the first point, and you can see here on the left, the first point we have to do is to create room. So we remove that excuse that we don't have time. But you can't just create room by telling you have to work more or stop doing this, because maybe what he or she is doing is very important. So we have to run through an exercise where we map out all projects. And I mean all of them. And this is why I'm saying we find 200, 250 projects. We have a list that you won't believe. And what we find also is, then we take this list to the CEO or whoever have to see it. And out of these 250 projects, they find 50 or 60 that we canceled that project. Why are they still working on it? Or this is no longer relevant because we changed the strategy, but nobody told them. So you have 20-25% of the projects, and I will guarantee it also works for your companies. I will guarantee. You have 20-25% of your projects that people are working on because they think they have to, but those projects are no longer relevant. Step number 1, eliminate those guys, right? And step number 2 is then looking at project dependencies. Project dependencies is about, and have you talked about this before today? Okay, good. Project dependencies, because this is the next thing. If you go to 6th Road here, you'll see this cartoon on the road all over the place, right? His father is a good friend of mine, and I had a very good discussion. I'm just using him. He's a good friend of mine, so I can do it. We're having this discussion because he had the same problem, right? 170 people, 250 projects, and he loves development. So he said, "I'll just hire some more people." I'll hire more developers, I'll hire more legal people, I'll hire more. And I told him, it's not possible. Just one example. One of the bottlenecks in this organization is legal. Whenever we do something, we have to check with legal and compliance. There's 1.5 person in legal and compliance, and they don't have time. So, and then I say, yeah, hire more legal people. Okay, good luck. How long time will it take you to hire a legal person? 3-4 months? Yeah, 3-4 months. How long time will it take for that legal person to be up to speed? 1 month. So no matter what you do, you have no clear sight of getting anything improved the next 5 months. So what you have to do is understand how are the projects depending not only on each other, but also of bottlenecks in the organization. And when you have that revelation, you also start to understand, okay, these two, and you have to prioritize. But this is back to the prioritization and project tracking. And then this one, and this is where most people, they start being really tired, right? Because then we need steering committees, we need project governance. And we need that because I don't think any of you have ever worked on a project that didn't change halfway. And if when your project changes halfway, the dependencies change. So you need to have a way of working with change requests. So that's, for me, this is the basic. This is what is that? 4-week, 5-week exercise that you have to complete before you can set up a transformation office. Because otherwise the people that will come to that transformation office, they will already be demotivated, tired, and overworked. So they have to feel that they're actually empowered to do something new. Does this make sense? Yeah. Yeah, but this is how it is, so I'm glad it does. So the transformation principles, I can skip through this, but I think these are again, when you set up the transformation office, these are the principles that we typically work with. We always say, don't modernize the core. It can be a project, but it's a completely different project. It shouldn't be part of a transformation office. It is part of something else. We think about being realistic, and how can I say this? Now, and I'm hoping I'm not stepping on anybody's feet here, but what we see a lot is not at all for Pasha, of course, but out here and up there. The CEO wants change. The CEO goes to IT, head of whatever, and they say, no, we already do this, it already works. Don't worry, we can do this, I can do it myself. Our team can do it. And especially in IT, this is a story that's being told a lot. And what happens is the CEO do not have the needed capabilities or competences, in this case, to understand. So when you have an IT person who says, I'm hoping I'm not stepping on anybody's feet here, but if you have an IT person who says, if we change this, the whole system will break down for a week. So the CEO, no, you're not going to change anything, right? And that actually stops many projects. And it's important that whoever works with the transformation office also works as a mediator. Because IT is right in many cases, but sometimes IT also don't want to change because they might be worried about losing control of something that's important for them. So this, I just said it, right? This is, think about isolating the core, think about being aware of, especially if you're running the transformation of and are responsible, think of, I just used the Yohari window, which I really like, because it's this, know what you know, but also try to know what you don't know. And ask the right questions. And then back to just do it, this is the agents that I've been talking about, because they tend to modernize and optimize, and they motivate the organization a lot. Quick wins is always good. Celebrate quick wins. People feel that they want to continue, right? Now, HR structure, process mining, and IT architecture. And again, this might be very region specific, but here, if you establish a proper working transformation office, it's a fact that you hire people from outside who are at a different level than most of the existing organization. different price level, different competence level, different attitude level. And that gives a lot of headache for a transformation office or for people who want to do the transformation, because you have a person saying, I've been here for 15 years, I haven't advanced at all, and now you're hiring this guy who gave me a lot of money and whatever. Why is that fair? And what we find, can I go on this one? What we find is we have to make a model where we can explain to the people why they are, where they are, why they haven't moved for 14 years, and how we can move them if they want to. So we spent some time creating this pay grade and career path where we can say, okay, but you've been here for 10 years, here for 2 years, this is your salary, right? Slowly. And then 2 years ago, we asked if you wanted to be a manager and move up to the next level, but you didn't, for example. Or we can say, you know what, we would love you to be up here in your career. We would love you to run or be part of running the transformation office. But you can't just jump these competence levels. So we have a career path here. We can work with you to go there. But this model, I find, explains, I'm not saying they're happy, but you have a truthful explanation to why it is that they just don't jump 10 times in their salary when you start a transformation office, when you hire people. It's, I don't know if it's fair, it's just how it is, and you need, as a manager, you need one way of explaining it, but also a way of providing your team with a way to grow. Right? Because they also need to feel, if they have the motivation, then here is the courses, here is the programs we will put you on, and then you'll be there. But it doesn't happen overnight, and we need these transformations to happen overnight. Process mining is a fancy word of saying before and after. And what you do here is kind of like what we did with the process descriptions as is. You do a process mining for the processes as is. What you do is you find all touch points, and then you measure units per hour or units per time. And you'll typically find some optimization areas, but you'll also find this is what we are today, and after the transformation we want to be over here. And this you can put in job descriptions. This you can put in the shared targets for the top management. This you can put in the incentive schemes. And this is very, very tangible. And process mining is not that difficult. And it's very tangible. Yesterday we did 100 per hour, now we do 250 per hour. Well done, here's your bonus. End of discussion. That's simple. But not many people, they do it because it requires, again, that you have your process quite well mapped before you get started. And the last, I don't know, I mean, this is 2 hours in itself, the concept of two-speed IT, but I think what I wanted to say here, and I've said a couple of times already, is the concept of don't modernize the core, right? Isolate it and find layers outside where you can work with the systems of engagement or differentiation that you want to work with, because you don't have time and the money also to optimize the core. So the question was, when you start or establish a transformation office, do you engage consultants or do you do it yourself? The purpose, in my world, the purpose of a transformation office is in 2 years it needs to dismantle itself, no more. Then there's probably a new one has to start. But so for me, I would recommend engaging a long-term transformation officer. That can be a consultant, but it cannot be a 3 months engagement. It has to be 12, 18, 24 months. So you need somebody to take responsibility, to be part of the organization, to run it with the organization. That's up to if you do these longer-term placements, it can be from the outside. In many cases, I would recommend that, because you get a fresh pair of eyes. You get somebody who can ask all the nasty questions and is not bogged down by politics and too much. This is not how we do here. So, but I would also say, do not go out and hire somebody for 4 months, establish the transformation of them. Bye bye. I would not do that. You need continuity. And what I'm trying to show here is that there are many ways of doing this. You can start with a very small surgical optimizations. Then I probably would not even call it a transformation office. But if you think over here, we start with a person, that can be internal or external, that has the responsibility to go and map the processes, find the surgical areas, and start there, slowly start to educate the organization. The whole idea of a transformation office is that the organization needs to be lifted. In my world, a transformation office is not a unit in itself. It is transformative, right? It can be something else afterwards. It can be performance management, it can be strategy office, it can be whatever you want to call it. But the transformation has to be from X to Y by when, right? We cannot just continue. Right? So it's an open check. We spend all the money. So to answer your question, I would likely recommend having an advisor or a full-time from the outside. If you have a strong team, that strong team could likely use an advisor a couple of hours every day or whatever to take part of this one here. And this is typically also, oh my God, is that far away? This one. Here, if you engage on the transformation office and you hire somebody to run it for some time, when he or she gets out of the daily operations, put them in the steering committee for forever, basically, or until the projects are done. Because then you have that continuity, you have that, this is not what we agreed, still in the organization. So when you're thinking transformation office, do not think it is a 6-month project, it's not. This is Access Transformation Office. I commandeered half a floor where we put it. I just wanted to show you. You see, this is how I like to work with Transformation Office. Everything on the wall, like you're doing here also. So whenever you have a high-ranking general coming in to see how it's coming along, you can take them to a walk of the walls and explain where are we, what's happening. So a transformation office should be a physical place that is yours, or the transformation office's place, where you can have the meetings, where you can have your sessions, where you can have everything that's going on in the organization. I came to one of these organizations, and they had, and then hold on to this, an 18-month freeze period. Don't touch our core system for 18 months because we are How can you freeze IT development for 18 months? It's impossible. And that's actually why we are working with this model, right? So the first thing you do in a transformation project is to build your connection layers between what is called the system of records. The system of records is typically what you know as a core system today, which is the financial information, policy information. Keep that there. But when you do new development, create an API where you can build new functionality on top of. Because if you're lucky enough to change your core system, then you have the API connectivity into the API, and this core system just gets a new set of APIs. Now, every time we did something new, we actually took that functionality and shut down in the core system and built in Salesforce. Now, AXA and Salesforce are best friends, so that is the choice, right? So we slowly took the systems of differentiation and engagement out of the old platform and built in Salesforce, slowly. So every time we did something new, we took it out of this, and now, at the moment, their core system is still working, but it's basically just a financial information system. Theoretically, because they have the layer of APIs, theoretically, they could turn that off and turn a new one on with the new APIs. Because no new things have been built in the core system. They've only removed things. All right, I think thanks for your patience. I don't know if there's any more questions. I think you've been very, very patient listening to me for a long time. So I hope it was worth it. Thank you.